November 11th, 1922, Rotterdam, the Netherlands. A boy is born who will one day play one of the most dangerous double games of the Cold War. His name, George Blake. He grew up during turbulent times, scarred by war, driven by survival. By the 1940s, he was recruited into Britain's secret intelligence service, MI6. To his colleagues, he was brilliant, loyal, and utterly reliable. But in truth, George Blake was already walking down a shadowed path that would turn him into one of the most notorious double agents in history. Captured during the Korean War, he endured prison camps, endless propaganda, and moments that broke weaker men. But Blake emerged transformed. He had switched sides. By the time he returned to the West, he was not only an MI6 officer, he was also an agent of the KGB. Now imagine it. Every morning, he walked through the doors of MI6 headquarters in London, greeted with nods and trust. Files lay open on his desk. Operations, names, secret networks. And when night fell, Blake passed those secrets to the KGB. Every page he delivered was another nail in the coffin of Western intelligence in Eastern Europe. At times, discovery was only a heartbeat away. Once, during a tense debriefing, a senior officer leaned close and asked about a mission that had clearly been compromised. Blake smiled calmly, steady as stone, offering explanations so plausible, so perfectly timed, that suspicion evaporated. He had been seconds from exposure, but walked away untouched. Another time, a courier intercepted on the continent carried documents eerily similar to files from Blake's department. Whispers began to swirl inside MI6, and yet, Blake's charm, his quiet efficiency, made him the last man anyone suspected. He was hiding in plain sight, thriving under their trust. But his betrayals cost dearly. Networks of Western agents behind the Iron Curtain collapsed. Men and women who trusted Britain vanished, imprisoned or executed. And through it all, Blake delivered more than 40,000 pages of intelligence to Moscow. He believed he was on the right side of history. Eventually, the mask cracked. A defector from Eastern Europe whispered Blake's name. Investigators closed in. The net was tightening. He was summoned, questioned, and at last, the evidence became undeniable. George Blake was arrested. In 1961, he was sentenced to 42 years in prison, one of the longest sentences in British history. Locked inside Wormwood Scrubs, Blake seemed finished, but his story was far from over. 4 years later, with the help of fellow inmates, he pulled off the impossible, a daring escape. Scaling a wall with makeshift rope, slipping past guards under cover of night, and vanishing into the dark streets of London. For days, MI5 hunted him like a ghost. And then, silence. Blake had disappeared. Weeks later, reports surfaced. Blake had been smuggled across Europe, hidden in safe houses, driven through checkpoints with seconds to spare. And finally, he resurfaced, in Moscow. Greeted as a hero by the very people he had served in secret for so long. George Blake lived out the rest of his days in the Soviet Union, unrepentant. To some, he was a traitor. To others, a man of conviction. To history, he remains a symbol of the deadly game of espionage, where trust can be shattered, loyalty can be bought, and a single man can tip the balance of power. George Blake, the double agent who fooled them all. And if you enjoyed this documentary, make sure to subscribe for more. I truly appreciate your support because I put a lot of time and effort into making these stories for you. By subscribing, you help me continue to bring history to life.